This fan base is amazing. The city of Cincinnati is amazing, and I wouldn't want to be anywhere else.
Desmond fakes a handoff, runs to the right. He's got all sorts of room to the 30, 25, 20, 15, 10, 5, touchdown! Bearcats! 20, 25, toward the middle of the field at the 35, and he is gone! Trey Tucker will take it 98 yards to the house. A nip at night knockout as the Bearcats send a message to the college football world. Did you see that?
Hello, listeners, new and old. Welcome back to your favorite Bearcats podcast, VIVA LA CATS. I am your host, Justin Hiles, accompanied by my great friend, Steve Maurer, and we are here to bring you the very best of the Bearcats every single week. We are now proudly presented by the Big 12's premier podcasting group, the 1012 Network. We've got a few things for you today. The big note, we are recording the day of Big 12 Media Days. There's been a lot to talk about. But first of all, this is our first podcast since officially being inaugurated into the Big 12. So, Steve, I don't know what ritualistic thing we have to do to start this, but we're in, baby.
We are in. We made it. I do have a can of Skyline chili, but I don't want to chug it right now. So other than that, though, Justin, you had some Cincy lights for us when you were in town last weekend. I'd say that's pretty good celebration enough.
Yeah, no, I think that works. I'm still upset that we never got the Tall Boys. I understand it's a limited event in the city of Cincinnati and it makes sense, but come on, man, you got so many alums so far spread out. None of us can get that right now, and we're just waiting. I'm telling you all, and I will say it, this is the 10th time I've said this live in a matter of, the past week. This is the most hammerable beer I've ever had in my life. It is so smooth. It has the edge over all of the domestics. It's fantastic. I'm waiting for it. I'm genuinely waiting for it. I don't think I've been this excited for any kind of food, drink item, beverage, or any consumable since the snack wrap, which is still yet to come back. Very sad.
Yeah, when is that coming back? Come on.
It's not. I will say, though, Wendy's did a good job putting together a wrap, but it's $6, and if you get the meal, it's $10. So RIP snack wrap. You're never going to get that deal again. It was $2.99. It was perfect.
RIP.
Anyways. Here we are. Like I said, Media Day. I think it's the biggest day for the Bearcats, in a long time. Obviously, we've had a lot of exciting things happen recently. Of course, with the announcement of the Nike Jordan deal, all of that kind of comes together. I think the one to start with would have to be the polls, because this is something where I think we expected to be slighted. We expected to not exactly have the vote of confidence after losing Luke Fickell and staff and players and so on and so forth, sort of hitting the reset button, going into a difficult conference. What does not make sense to me is that the Bearcats ended up 13th out of 14. That is second to dead last for those of you who do math. And we're only ahead of Neil Brown's West Virginia Mountaineers. This is a sad, sad day, and I'm very excited to prove all the doubters wrong. Most notably, someone has confidence in UCF, and I don't understand it. Sorry, Central Florida. Hilton Night Managers. Anyways.
Yeah, I don't understand the UCF love. I mean, I guess they got some transfers and stuff. They were in the conference championship game last year. I don't know. They just seemed like them losing to Navy last year. I know it's Navy. That maybe that loss has colored my mind and just makes me think that they stink more than they actually do. But anyway, 13th, Justin, you know what? I'm not going to get upset about it because I don't mind having lower expectations to go over. I don't mind setting the bar extremely low in a coach's first year with a bunch of new guys and losing a bunch of guys, losing your head coach. I'm kind of okay with it. And, that's for the media. That's their problem. But what I'm thinking is, they're obviously we're picked to finish 13th, but you can always do better than that. Let the ball don't lie, Justin, is what I'm really trying to say.
Ball do not lie. And honestly, I realistically think that bowl eligibility is obviously the goal here, but I realistically think that if the Bearcats end up winning 5 games this year, you're not going to be 13th. It doesn't even matter if all 3 of those come. If it doesn't matter if they come from your first 3 games of EKU, Pitt, and Miami. Like, I realistically think that winning 2 Big 12 games is the low end, like the very low end. And I think people's expectations is to win 3 or 4. So to realistically be able to like go 500 in conference, I think that is where my mindset sits. You go 500 in conference, you take care of business at the beginning of the season, you're a 7-win team. At worst, I think realistically, you're a 6-6 team. That's a good season based on all of the stuff that's happened and all of the things that you have to mitigate sort of your losses from. I think the Scott Satterfield thing, like I said, is really interesting. I gotta say, love the professionalism today. Everybody's showing up in suits, clean, tight. Like it's just everything looks clean and it felt very professional. Scott Satterfield, I mean, the guy knows how to work a microphone, man. Like he just knows it. Like he is very, very smooth. And like, I think that's the thing.
That Carolina boy in him.
Oh yeah, he does. He does. Like
he's talk, you know.
I mean, it's crazy though. When you look at it, it's like, if you look at the way that he talks and run that up against Wes, I think it's very similar. And it is kind of funny with those Carolina boys. But like, when you look at Luke Fickell, like I think we had a certain level of class that we expected with him. And so you're not getting anybody who's exactly swaggier or more exciting, but you're still getting somebody who is that like has some personality, but is not just absolutely like, rigid. Like there's some flex there. He's a fun guy. We're just figuring him out.
Yeah. I keep putting out the Satterfield hat meme and in hopes that it will become a meme, just because I do want people to like him, and obviously it just matters what he does on the field at the end of the day. But I do think he is a likable guy, of course. There were some caveats that he was putting out there, but I think that's fine to set the expectation a little bit low, even from the coach's standpoint. It's his first year. They're still trying to figure out implementing a new defensive and offensive scheme. It might not click completely in year one, but I think, Justin, like we're saying, when we did our season release pod earlier this year, we were both pretty high and we were at 8-4. Now I think looking back, 8-4, definitely, but I think we were both with like the most positive mindset and just thinking to myself, we missed like 4 of the top 10 teams from last year's Big 12 standings. And I'll pull up the media poll right now to see who we miss. But, obviously we get West Virginia near the end of the year. We get Kansas at home, play at BYU. And the other thing too is I was kind of surprised how much BYU got, is because just from reading preview articles before, of evaluating the teams as they go in, obviously we have a coaching change. They didn't, but a lot of people were wondering how much how much the BYU is going to be able to compete right away, just because of how much bigger the other schools are and how they might be a little bit better in NIL. But anyway, I just think it's just interesting to see where we're at. So let me pull up the media poll real quick. But Justin, was there anything else that stood out to you from the comments today?
As far as specific comments, there was one which we're gonna get into here in a little bit more detail. We'll leave that because we're gonna bounce back to the QB room.
So I do have the media poll pulled up now here, Justin, and Texas 1, Kansas State 2, Oklahoma 3, Texas Tech 4, TCU 5. Now you only get one of those schools. You get Oklahoma, and that game's at home. Going further down the list, Baylor, that's at home. Oklahoma State, that's on the road. UCF, home. Kansas, home. Iowa State, I don't know if we have them at home or on the road. Maybe
Iowa State's home this year.
Home, okay.
Yeah.
Oh yeah,
homecoming. Yeah.
BYU road, Houston road, West Virginia road. So obviously, like, I just think, Justin, that people are a little bit down on what the potential is this year, and obviously it might not come together year one, but Louisville in Satterfield's first year there, He won Coach of the Year. They won 9 games. So, I mean, I think the potential's there, Justin. We just have to see it.
Yeah, and this is something that I jumped on a podcast last night with a few guys with the Cotton Club crew, with Viva the Matadors, not Viva La, Viva the Matadors. Some great guys over there covering tech. And we had an interesting conversation about this schedule. And that's part of where I found a lot of my confusion with how we ended up so far down in the polls. Like, I understand that, like I said, people aren't going to have confidence. I figured at worst, we're going to end up 12, 11. And I figured, honestly, we'd be closer to 10 or 9. But, chips fall as they may. I think that this was a really interesting conversation because you talk about where that ceiling is. You have a lot of winnable games. You dodge all of the hardest teams from the year prior, the traditionally hardest teams, and you get all of your hardest games that you were going to have that year, and the ones that you're probably going to struggle with the most, at least 50% of those are at home. So you have that advantage. You have your Oklahoma at home. UCF is going to be difficult. That will be at home. You're going to have an Iowa State team. Hopefully that's an easier one that you can get. No slouch, for them. Baylor, no slouch either, but you never know what to expect with Baylor or Iowa State. You're going to have both of those at home. Those are huge advantages. And so when you have like an Oklahoma State on the road, you'd expect to probably drop that. Stillwater's just going to be insane. I don't think that we're going to win that game personally. I don't think so. If we do, hats off to you, Scott Satterfield and crew. But again, like, you win, you have an advantage at least in a few of those games. And if you can manage to win UCF and Iowa State, a Baylor, a Kansas, that's 4 wins right there. And that's before you even get to the ones that you think might be even more difficult. So I think there's a legitimate possibility to like have a decent turnout from that. And again, like, I just don't see, I feel like everybody looked optically at the situation at Cincinnati, but didn't really key in to their strength of schedule. Like, it's a very, very important thing to pay attention to year in, year out. And I think coaching changes obviously are going to be affected by that, but I don't think it's going to be quite as bad as people expect it to be, because we should be able to control our schedule for the most part. We have the best strength of schedule as far as ease goes in the Big 12. Literally nobody can beat us. Not a single team. We have the easiest schedule. We should be able to go 500 in it.
Yeah. I think it's just going to come down to depth and how injuries play out this year, how the offense really meshes, how the offensive line meshes for sure. Because Justin, I feel pretty good about the defense right now. And, we'll see, we'll have to see how the reports come out of camp, but our defensive line is solid. Linebackers, we've got some transfers in, and, we've got Deshaun Pace just going to wreck shit out on the, out on the outside. And then we're bringing back Taj Ward as well. We're bringing back some good corners and defensive backs. So I do think that the defensive ball side of the ball is not really as much of a problem, because, again, I've been bringing it up ever since Satterfield was brought on here. Mm-hmm. They had the same defensive rating as us in the American. And we thought, the defense saved UC in a lot of these games last year against obviously worse competition. But if Brian Brown can just build off of that and make it just a little bit better, I think there's just an opportunity for UC to get into some 10-9, 15-14 rock fights and just, maybe you win it with a field goal at the end. Who's our kicker, by the way, Justin? I forget who our kicker is.
Oh,
okay. I'm sorry.
It's transfer from Arizona State. Transfer from Arizona State. I'm trying to remember his name.
I completely derailed the show with that. I am
no.
sorry.
You're good. I think this is a really interesting point that you make there, because I 100% agree with that. And you look at this situation optically, Brian Brown and Scott Satterfield have worked together. They know what they want and they know what to expect. Playing in the ACC, playing in the American, you have 2 totally different situations. Okay. I mean, I'm not going to lie. The ACC was better than the American was. That is clear. However, I genuinely believe that Cincinnati has a better defense than Louisville had last year. Like that is like on everything on paper, like all of the stars there. I think all of that is there. So yes, you're going to lose some chemistry. Yes, you lose a lot of your key guys. Or not a lot. You lose a couple of your key guys, but you maintain a lot of that core too. You maintain your Jawan Briggs. You maintain your Dante Corleone. You gain a Grizak. Like you get all these guys that it's just going to be insane, and it's going to be really hard to penetrate through them. Safeties, on the other hand, that might be the only area where I'm maybe slightly concerned, but I think realistically we should be fine. And so with all that said, you look at how this situation pans out, these guys are going to be making a pretty much lateral move from where they were defensively set to a new team with even better talent to work with. I realistically think that this defense should not be an issue almost at all this year. What you're going to see as the defense being an issue is no longer going to be, do they just get absolutely burned? Are they just not having it today? It's going to be, can they keep up week after week with the typical Big 12 style offense where it is going to air you out and you are going to get tired fast. It's quick. It's pass heavy. You're moving the ball so much. And so I think if we can keep pace with that, we should be fine. And if we can be a defense at the level of where we were in the American, and we can do that in the Big 12, we will be one of the best. Like I'm talking top 10 defenses in the country. If you can do that against Big 12 teams, if you can keep Big 12 teams under 20, you're doing a fantastic job. If you can keep them under like 25, some of these teams really know how to score, especially the ones that we're dodging. So hopefully we should be okay there. But I am worried about the Oklahoma State and Oklahomas of the world.
Panhandle's going to give us problems this year, and hopefully the Bearcats are ready for that.
And hopefully not the other one.
But yeah, we're going to have some fun with that Oklahoma game as well. It'll be a big time game. Big 12 homecoming. I don't know what that is yet, but the conference announced that they are coming to Cincinnati for that first game against Oklahoma. Justin, we were just talking about the defense here. I want to transition really quickly and talk about a big topic so much of a big topic that it garnered an entire Justin Williams article today.
Oh, yeah.
Evan Prater has officially switched to being a wide receiver. Just when you saw the first news of it, what'd you think?
Hell yeah. That's all I have to say.
Okay.
Hell yeah.
Okay.
I am totally on board with this for a multitude of reasons, but I'm going to make them quick. One, what this shows is that Evan Prater wants to play, and he's willing to change his structure in order to do that. Two, this kid is bought in. He is clearly a Cincinnati kid through and through. He did so much recruiting for us. On top of that, I want people to remember that. Like, he really tried. He put everything out. He wanted to bring people here. Of course, in that situation, he thought that he was going to be the guy, and he thought that he was going to end up being that QB. That is all this is going to revolve around. Realistically, the kid is shifty as hell. He's got the skill set. He's able to move the ball. If you want to throw him in there for some kind of wildcat play or switch something up, switch everything around, you have the ability to do that with a guy who's a wide receiver with a QB background. I want to remind you, one of the most poignant characters in Cincinnati football history came in as a QB, switched to a different receiving position, and ended up being one of the best at his position in all of NFL history. That name, Travis Kelce, went to a tight end from a QB. I realistically think, like, I'm not going to put any expectations on Evan to be anything like that, to be NFL bound or anything. But I think that he has cemented his ability to stay competitive with his team, to be in this team. I love the commitment to this team and saying that I want to stay at Cincinnati. I'm going to make this situation work for me and find a way to stay within this team, because he could transfer out. He could go to some smaller MAC school. He could go to, he could go to Miami. He could do the reverse of the pace of Ivan Pace. Like, it's like, this is a situation that so many QBs would get. I think the writing would be on the wall, and I think they'd be out. And like I said, so first reaction from that is just hell yeah, he's bought in, and I'm hoping that he gets a lot of reps. I'm hoping that he's a starter, and I hope that he torches everybody. I want to see him prove everybody wrong.
I think this is a good sign too for Brady Drogish and for Samaj Jones, who we'll talk about in just a second. But
yep.
And not that we ever wanted Prater to not be there, but I had just heard from people that he just was not really beating out Ben Bryant for the job last year. And obviously with the Tulane game and the bowl game last year, we just got to see that he just might not be a quarterback at this level. And that's okay.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know what went on with his recruitment, or like maybe he just got too high of a rating coming out, like maybe he just wasn't playing high enough ball. I don't really know, but I do like all those reasons you said, Justin. And the only thing I want to top on it is that, like you said, he is a playmaker, and Blue Smith, former Bearcat receiver Blue Smith, tweeted today that he should have been on the field for the past 3 years, which is kind of an interesting comment because obviously Blue is not with the program anymore, but to kind of a shot a little bit at the last coaching staff. But, that's bygones be bygones. So it is very interesting, though, to have him back.
Yeah, and also following in Garen's footsteps as well as a receiver, right? Isn't Garen his brother?
Oh, yeah.
Garen Prater?
Sorry. Yeah.
Okay.
You
I want to
said
make sure
the
I was
word Garen. I was like,
oh, no.
what?
Yeah. Sorry. That's kind of just thrown out there in left field.
Yeah.
But
and then there's also Cam Jones, too, who came in as a quarterback, switched to tight end, then switched to offensive line. And so,
brother hulked up. I hope if you guys haven't seen that, look that up. The transformation from when he came in to when.
Tweet that out, Justin. Yeah.
Dude, Cam Jones is insane.
Yeah. Mike Gully Jr. tweeted it out. So I'll have to go find it and we'll post it.
Yeah. The only other thing I'd like to add here, too, is like, why I think this situation works so well is beyond all the other things I said, topping on that shiftiness. Think about every time that you watched Evan Prater play a snap last year. Think about every single time you watched him play. What was the one thing you were hoping he would do? You weren't hoping that he's going to throw a bomb down the field. You're hoping that he's going to find a way to run some little option play and break the hell out of somebody's ankles. Yeah. And he was able to do that too. I think if you put him in a situation where he can just gas somebody downfield, get the ball, you're telling me, I think this is the thing is like, I look at him in the same way I looked at like Trey Tucker and Tyler Scott. But on the flip side, those guys might not necessarily beat you with their movement. They're going to beat you with their speed. I think because if you get them one-on-one, you're not catching them. Yeah. I think if he gets somebody one-on-one downfield and he catches that ball, goodbye. And it's not because he's going to torch them. It's because he is going to make them fall on their ass. And that would be fantastic.
Maybe a little like a wide receiver screen or a bootleg or like a little reverse action or something. I like that.
And again, there's so many ways you can plug him into this offense as a receiver. And so I think it works out great.
Definitely. Get him out in space.
Well, while we're on the topic too of just kind of the QB room, like you said, I tweeted this out earlier. And this is kind of that point that I wanted to mention about some of the comments from today. I think the most interesting one to me was when they talked about the QB room. Scott Satterfield, in a good 40 seconds in response to a question, mentioned Emory Jones, mentioned Drogish, and all that's left there at that point is Lichtenberg. Complete non-mention. Talked about competition in the locker room, talked about all this excitement, whatever, excited to see these guys compete. But when you mention Emory clear and away from the top, he talked as he is going to be the starter. I think that makes sense. We should hope that is the case moving forward. You want to have that decided when you're going into the season. As much as it's cool to have like kind of talent competing, I really want to know who that is. And I want to have some confidence in that. So that way we know what to expect, A, but B, the guys know what to expect and they know who's the leader there. So that's one. Two, immediately following up those comments by saying, we're really excited about this guy that we got out of Michigan last year. Brady Drogish, recruit. He's really talented, can run, can pass the ball. Doing all of that and completely non-mentioning Lichtenberg, I don't know. Like I said, I might be reading between the lines too much on that, but I think that he knows what he wants out of his QB room and he knows what kind of plays he's going to run, what kind of style of offense is going to be had. And Lichtenberg can throw the ball. We all know that. But I don't necessarily know if he fits perfectly into Satterfield's scheme. And if that's the case, like I said, you look at Drogish, you'd hope that he starts sooner rather than later.
Right.
You know, of course, if Emery pops off, you want that to be the case. But also, if we remember the whole situation with Dez, nothing says like just good fortune for the future, like getting a guy in who's very talented and very young and can just get that experience, because Emery's going to be here and gone. Lichtenberg, if he finds a way to start, he doesn't got much time left. You got Drogish, you got all of this time to play with here. And honestly, I think we said the same thing about Evan. I think that was honestly more of the hype around Evan beyond all the other aspects, was just getting a young guy in there that you know will set you up for the future in the Big 12. Now that's too late. But if you can start in the Big 12 with that, I think we'd be set off on a really good path. So I don't know. I realistically think that Drogish could be the number 2. We'll see how he does in camp, but he said he put on a lot of weight. Good weight, put on like 25 pounds of muscle. He put on a lot of weight. He put on muscle.
Had too many Cholitos in the off season. Got to get him running again.
What was that Corleone? Who was the one that had like the Cholito with fries in it?
Yeah, it was Corleone.
That is goated, top tier.
I'm kind of surprised that Skyline hasn't done a deal with him yet. Dante, by the way, shout out to him. He's been making it work in the space, and selected to all Big 12 along with Mason Fletcher. So
and notably, go ahead. I might beat you to it.
I was going to say Fletcher and Fickle were pictured together on vacation. I thought that was kind of weird. Same with Landon, but Landon makes more sense obviously because that's his kid.
Right. Yeah. That is very interesting. One thing I will say, the interesting selections, Big Game Boomer, who notably fucking hates Cincinnati. And honestly, all of it is just clickbaity shit anyways. But regardless, he actually chose Dante Corleone as the best defensive player best defensive player for his preseason list out of the entire Big 12. So I thought that was interesting.
How much research did he have to do for that? You just looked up best player in the Big 12, Dante. Oh, okay. All right. Okay. That's mine now.
Yeah. And then everything else in between is just like, what can we throw in there? What's going to stir the pot? Jawan Briggs was also number 5. So at least he has something figured out. I'll give him that. But regardless, I am very excited. I would like to say this live on air. I want to start having this be the name. Can we call the duo of Jawan Briggs and Dante Corleone the Mafia or something? I think it's just perfect. Those guys, they were dressed so sharp in suits. You got the name. You got guys who like literally look like bouncers. They would beat the shit out of you. Like, just call them the Mafia. Call it as it is. They run shit behind the scenes. I think it works.
You got the Godfather. You got Jawan B. You got Danny Gree. You got all those guys in there trying to come to your backfield. You better not mess. I'm sorry to all Italian Americans for that. Please continue.
Do it for us, Steve. Yes, thank you. All right.
The pasta.
We didn't really get to cover Samaj Jones yet. We kind of tapped on it, but go in a little more depth there.
Yeah. So Samaj Jones, I'm pulling up his 247 profile now just to really get a good picture of him, but committed recently to the Bearcats from St. Joseph's Prep School in Philadelphia, 2024 commit, 4-star on the 247 composite, 28th ranked quarterback in the nation, 398 overall. So to me, he's just what Satterfield wants in his quarterback for this system. Obviously Satterfield had Malik Cunningham in his system already at Louisville when he took over. And if you watch at any Louisville at all, I kind of watched him a little bit as a Cincinnati fan, but that Malik Cunningham was always pretty good there. They called him Puma, but Puma was always like decent there. And you saw how in that media day press release, you saw Satterfield's offenses have had averaged about 200 yards per season for every year he's been a head coach, which is pretty good in my opinion. So, and I think Samaj Jones kind of fits that prototype. The thing I love about him, Justin, and our guy Michael Boston tweeted this out. I don't think there's another recruit, and they can all prove me wrong. Jake Wheelock is a pretty good tweeter as well, but Samaj Jones just posts things about the Bearcats all the time, and I love that. So yeah, that's a pretty easy way to vault yourself up my personal UC recruit rankings.
Yes. I think this is kind of an interesting situation, like we've said. When you look at where he stacks up, like I think for the future, there's a legit possibility he's going to be competing. Like I think he's going to be in there pretty quick. And again, this is a guy that Satterfield is recruiting. This is a guy that fits his bill. And so realistically, I think that he's going to give the guys a run for their money. And you would hope that. But of course, like I think looking forward to the next few years, we're gonna see how this roster shakes out. But I think there's been a little bit of apprehensiveness from some Cincinnati fans who haven't necessarily been as excited about the polls, who haven't necessarily been the polls, but recruiting rankings, exactly the recruits that we're getting in. I would just caution you to be patient. I think this is like I said, this is an interesting time, not only for the athletic department, but for recruits in general, and specifically for where we sit moving forward. I think a lot of people want to have a lot of questions answered about Cincinnati. And for the handful of people that I've talked to, around some of the Big 12 channels, Cincinnati seems to be the conversation piece for the Big 12 this year. And that's not like a personal bias because obviously Cincinnati fans, but I think we are one of the biggest conversation pieces. I think alongside that, you have the typical ones like, is Texas going to be back this year? The answer is no. Horns down. I think I've done that so many times on our podcast, and I'm going to continue to do it. I don't even have anything against Texas. I just love hating them with everyone else because it's fun. But I think our storyline is going to be interesting because there are a lot of doubters. There are a lot of people who have us pinned pretty low this season. And I think there's a lot for Scott Satterfield to prove these people wrong. And Scott Satterfield is not a slouch of a coach. I think so many people miss that. And I think they just look at like, all right, Luke Fickell took him to the CFP. You can't get any higher than that. And I think it's going to take a while to get any higher than that, but you never know. And I want more people to be on the Satterfield train. Like I said, I think there is some cautious optimism behind him, but I want people to be more supportive of Satterfield because this is going to be your coach going forward for the next few years. I think realistically, when you look at Cincinnati's timeline, he's going to have at least 4 years. That's usually how this thing goes, bare minimum. And it's got to be an absolute shit show in years 1, 2, and 3 for him to, not make it through the end of 4. So, I mean, I think the expectation is for Cincinnati to be in the Big 12 championship, within the next 5 years, somewhere in there. Find a time in there. I think that no. I think that's realistic. I think that's kind of, I might be opening a can of worms here, but like by the time you get through the end of 5 seasons with Scott Satterfield, you have to find a way to be in that game, not win it, but be in it. I genuinely believe
that makes sense. Like you should set the expectations there for a school like Cincinnati, who's always been successful under multiple different coaches, to get back there. I agree with that. I was just kind of like, yeah. But then when you said it like that, I agree.
And look at it this way. And honestly, like when you look at the situation of the expanded playoff, the Big 12 championship might actually be harder to reach. That could legitimately be a possibility with the expanded playoff where you're talking, you might be third in the Big 12 rankings, but you make the college football playoff. Like it's possible. Yeah. And it just depends on the strength of the conference that year, the strength of other conferences, and how that shakes out. I think we're only going to benefit from the death of the Pac-12. Death to the Pac-12. I don't really have anything for them. I know they have a lot of tradition, and that, it is what it is. I hate seeing a conference just get absolutely shredded like that. But in the wake of the Pac-12 being so high and mighty and just calling the Big 12 the truck stop conference and the flyover states, I think it's just funny because nobody gives a fuck about you. So sorry, Pac-12.
There's truck stops in Arizona, by the way. All right.
They're all over. Yeah.
I've seen them. I've been to them.
And I'm on board. Let's if we want to pilfer out the Big 12 or the Pac-12 Arizona schools, we'll take them. You can come on board. You can apologize later for your grievances. It's fine. But
I like it.
Anyways, I think that we've covered most of the new stuff lately. Again, this is a little bit of a drier time out in the summer. It's hot, it's arid, but there is still some content here and there. Steve and I do want to start rolling out a sort of a Big 12 roadmap. I think we're trying to figure out the best way to do it still. There's a couple of angles here, but it's either going to happen very shortly or it's going to happen during the season with the teams that we will be playing that week, which I think is an interesting structure, which I like too. So we're still figuring that out. But regardless, we will be adding a bit more content and we'll try to bring a couple more episodes throughout the summer before the football season starts. Steve, you got anything else for me?
That will be better planned out than the football uniforms that were on Media Day display this week. And that's all we need to say about that.
Wait, hold on. Oh, let's see if I can do this fast. Oh, okay. I don't have it, but that was the level of effort for Big 12 Media Day. That Cincinnati duct tape. I mean, all right. I know it's a struggle to get this shit together, but come on, folks. I know, but that's embarrassing. That really was embarrassing. Regardless,
when you're getting cooked by your rival and you got nothing to say, it's a rough day on the internet.
I would just like to say, as our last bit, and this is what I will leave us off with, UCF, you have the most boring home uniforms, just like anybody else. Nothing makes you special with your special Nike deal. You have awesome alternates. I will always give you that. But your home and away uniforms are just as boring as everybody else's. So don't give us any slack because ours are going to be much cooler. They probably, I don't know. We'll see what happens. But anyways, that was fun.
They'll be cooler because they have UC on them.
That is true. Viva la Cats, baby.
Viva la fucking Cats. Let's go.
Let's go.